Hey guys, welcome back to the daily crypto market update. BTC closed down negative 2.39%. It might have something to do with Trump threatening to take force and strike Iran this weekend, maybe. Maybe that has something to do with it. Honestly, this is the same thing that I've been telling you guys would most likely happen. BTC is overextended from the fast line, which is this pink line here from the trending breakout indicator, or TBO for short. Snaps back up to tag it, giving us a perfect entry at $69,000. Since then, it has fallen down 5%. And this has been repeated on so many other charts. Now, we also have a bear flag. Now, this is making this first bear flag quite convincing, you have to admit. Now, let's say, and I've seen some people in the comments disagreeing with me that this is a bear flag. Okay, cool. That's fine. You don't want this to be a bear flag. I get it. That's totally fine. So let's just switch it to a level of support that's clearly been lost. It dumped on Monday this week. It pierced it on Wednesday, but did not close above. Thursday, it tested. Yesterday, it's falling lower. Now, you tell me what this looks like. Whether it's a bear flag or not. Does this look strong? No, it doesn't matter. We could call it a noodle flag, a noodle beaver extravaganza. It doesn't really matter. Now, let's say that the bear flag is actually using this pivot low. Okay, cool. So if it's using this pivot low, then we should see a higher low if this bear flag is going to be validated, which means an immediate dump to $63,181 over the weekend, which is extremely unlikely to see Bitcoin dump another 4% unless the United States does strike Iran, and that would literally cause a shockwave throughout all markets over the weekend while markets are closed, but Bitcoin is 24/7. Isn't that so convenient? We have the best of both worlds, guys, don't we? I mean, this is amazing. So, so either way, I'm still expecting a break of support. Now, if things happen to get reversed quickly and everyone is all of a sudden super duper happy, like singing songs from the 60s. Everyone's super pumped and jazzed. Today, they call up everything. They're giving away money to the entire world, and everyone's going to buy crypto. Not going to happen. Bitcoin's resistance would be at $74,000. Again, that's silly. It's stupid. But I should also say plainly that the longer that BTC just chops sideways, eventually, inevitably, it will come into contact with this next resistance fan line. So if Bitcoin happens to just chop-solidate sideways for another 2 weeks, which is 100% possible, by the way, that's exactly what happened over here. We had our dump on the 21st of November down to 80K. It shot up short-term to $94,500, and it continued to chop sideways until it lost support 69 days later. Great movie, by the way. I don't know what I'm saying. 28 days later, but 16. No, stop. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Don't you do that. So looking at other metrics, on-balance volume is still strong bearish. Volume has no show of interest at these levels, so it will continue to drop lower. The TBO is very strong bearish on the daily time frame. The only saving grace right now is that daily RSI is putting in higher lows and higher highs, kind of. It lost this higher, whatever, low. It kind of dumped on Monday and Tuesday this week, and it shot up higher. Okay, cool. But this is the only good thing I can kind of identify or try to. So perhaps we now have a support level like this. And if this is a support level, then we do not want to see RSI break below here, which would be closing below 30. Okay? Usually in a weekend, we won't see too much manipulation, usually, but it can happen, as you all very well know. Now, Ethereum, due to the multiple factor effect, which is a video I made like a couple years ago, and it just rings true for crypto. Whatever Bitcoin does, everything else is going to overreact. And Ethereum is a prime example and a prime suspect of this. On Wednesday's pump, Bitcoin moved up like 7-8%. Ethereum moved up almost 16%, giving us a beautiful entry at the TBO fast line, and now it's down 6%. Trust me when I say, in the moment, these are always going to be an iffy feeling. You're never, ever going to feel confident when these markets are having these pullbacks. You can invert the chart as many times as you want. There's still that chance that it just keeps on going higher. Like we've seen so many charts go up higher, like stable, like H. We're going to look at a couple of those too. Oh gosh, here's another one. It's okay. We'll get to it. So there's a chance, always a chance, that charts could just go up a little bit higher, like Adam did. But inevitably, the macro trend wins in the end. And if the macro trend is bearish, pointing down, usually these charts are going to succumb to the trend and fall lower. Now, on the weekly time frame, Ethereum is still on target. Weekly RSI is set to close at 1841, which is the lowest it's been. I have to go back over here. Yep, 20.6 was in March, 18.4. That's the lowest we've seen since the crash over here in 2022 in June. So we are getting super duper close to that capitulation moment for Ethereum and for Bitcoin. Same thing applies. Bitcoin's weekly RSI is headed for 1550. The last time I got this low was 12.63, the week of the 13th of June, 2022. I still believe that Bitcoin is closer to our final capitulation dump than we are to a reversal. It makes way more sense given the trend and all that stuff. So the targets are on the chart. People keep asking, where are you looking at accumulating? I've said this every time, pretty much every time. The next clear target that it's going to take out is 60K. That's easy. And when that happens, it will most likely drop a little bit below 49K. And that will be a pretty nasty drop of 25, 26%. And if you think that's impossible, we literally saw something like this, actually more devastating, about 38% happen over 3 weeks. When we topped out here the week of the 12th of January and we bottomed out on February 6th. Well, actually that was, about 3 weeks. Okay. So don't think, oh man, that's too far to go in such a short time. It's a bottom year. This is exactly what happens in bottom years. Okay. So I still think that we're really close to capitulating, which is good. So where am I going to start really accumulating BTC? It depends how it responds to this level of 49K. Ideally, I want to buy Bitcoin in this range, below $40,000. That's really where I'm looking at starting to inch into a position. We also cannot ignore the fact that we're probably still going to see BTC bottom out somewhere over here eventually the first week of October, because the last several cycles have topped in November 2021, bottomed in November 2022, topped in December 2017, bottomed in December 2018. So it makes a whole lot of sense to go, okay, well, December, November, October, cool. So October 2025 to October 2026. So that means if we're going to see it bottom out over here, there is a very good chance, an extremely high potential of it falling down to this $38,555 target from here. Really, really good chance of that happening. Even going a little bit lower, because this is still a long ways out, guys. This is still a really long ways out. And these measurements right here are showing us based off of this last market. When we finally had this pivot high right here, we saw, actually, let me do it like this. It took 11 weeks, actually 12, because the way that TradingView measures these time, they don't count the first bar. So this is actually 12 bars. I always say a number higher than this because it's just whatever. So Bitcoin finally capitulated 11 bars after having that little pivot high move. So if we're going to say the same thing's going to happen again this time, actually we have to go back over here. There we go. So 11 bars later will be by the end of March, the Ides of March. Okay. I don't think that's actually the Ides of March, but whatever. It sounds cool. So we still have 5 more possible weeks if we're going to follow the exact pattern of the previous bear market, which is not really likely, but the drawdown and the targets and the duration, that is likely. As far as like the exact pinpoint time of when it's going to dump, I don't really know. But the potential for it to fall a lot lower, oh yeah, no, that's super duper possible. If I just take the top to the drop over here, okay? And we superimpose it to where BTC is we can see that we get down here to 49K. So at least dropping down here to 49K should be a given. Now we have to kind of stretch this out to match what we're looking at, right? So if we're going to be matching this to what we're looking at, it's going to be more along the lines of this. If we kind of stretch it out a little bit. It's not exactly the same. Oh, there we go. Like this. See it? So we get all the dumps. There's a little bit of a recovery, goes up, falls down. We get one last flush lower. So we're almost there, honestly. And if we get a little bit of a crack below 49K at 43,000, that'd be amazing. Again, I don't think the price is necessarily going to bounce right at this level of 49,000 in the same way that the price never even bounced at all off of 74,508. It just went like a bullet through a wet napkin, okay? Same thing's going to happen at 60K. Same thing's going to happen at 49K. So those are good short-term targets. So again, if we're going to see the exact same thing for 2022, which is extremely unlikely, that means flushing right down there, seeing a pretty good recovery bounce, and then possibly lower by the time we finally end the market, which could be something like this, okay? Maybe, possibly maybe, all of you Björk fans are losing your minds. Björk, because you know that her name is actually pronounced Björk and not Bjork. Some of you in the comments are wild. Aaron, I wish I had your mind. No, you don't wish you had my mind. Trust me, nobody wants this, okay? All right. Stablecoin dominance doing its thing. It had a pullback on Wednesday because of the big pump, gave us our TBO springboard bounce, and now it's pushing up here to TBR resistance. Everything is still on track, on target to see stablecoin dominance finally have that capitulation. I'm sorry, blow off top. I always goof it up. Everything else, though, it's a capitulation dump, but for this, it'd be a blow off top. Most likely headed up to 18%. That's my target. It doesn't have to hit that number. But the main thing is that, man, oh man, we're looking at weekly RSI at 89.43, and the last high was at 94.19. We are super duper close to finally getting that blow off top, and then we're done. Well, at least we've capitulated, and then things are kind of bounce after that. So we will get a little bit of a rally. I do really believe that we are going to see a small mini rally for crypto after it capitulates, but that's going to be after prices fall a lot further. Bitcoin dominance, no real change. It's still below our short-term resistance level. Now, this is interesting because top 10 dominance is in the process of printing a second TBT bullish divergence cluster. Now, we still have 22 hours and 6 minutes left in this daily candle as of the filming of this video. And to be fair, we've already seen these. And yes, there was a short-term reaction, but it dropped a lot lower. I still think it's way too early to get excited about buying alts because the writing's on the wall. Mene mene tekel parsum. Bitcoin's going lower. That's exactly what that means in the Bible, just so you know. So now, yeah, there we go. Bible scholar here. Others dominance. We have two TVT bearish divergences. Yes, sometimes I just say stuff for myself, and because I'm just talking to a computer screen. No one's actually looking at me right now, so I can say whatever I want. It's ridiculous. Others dominance, we can see it's been flashing some bearish reversal signs, two TPT bearish divergences on the daily time frame. More notably, it lost support here after crashing it on Saturday and Sunday this past weekend. It came up to test it on Tuesday, fell down. So it put in a higher low. Wow! It actually has a kind of a cool W logo right there. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I still expect others dominance to fall lower. Okay, so let's go on to TradFi. The Dixie flashing some crazy bullish reversal signs here. 3 TBO close shorts in the span of a week is nuts. The last time this happened, we saw a really positive response, and the Dixie shot up to TBO resistance at 100.261. I'm expecting the same thing to happen. There's no guarantee of it happening, but that's a really bullish reversal sign. Seeing a lot of those print in a very short amount of time. Now, the S&P futures chart closed lower after printing our open long on Wednesday, and then it went right back in the cloud on Thursday. Friday, it stayed right inside of it. Nothing has really changed my bearish bias about this chart, namely because the price is just like stalling. Anytime price is stalling and volume is falling, that's really bearish. On balance volume is very bearish now. Notice that the white moving average is starting to flatten out, which means that it's most likely going to go lower, confirming a bearish downtrend. I still think we're going to have some sort of a crash. RSI on the weekly time frame is still putting in our pattern of lower lows and lower highs. So everything is still intact there. The Dow Jones on the daily time frame, it has now confirmed a second TBO close long. Just so you know, when we see TBT bearish divergence clusters for them, and now a second TBO close long, this is a massive warning sign that the Dow is really close to falling down. Okay? If it does, a good first target to look at would be right around here, and it's only an 8% drop. This is historical TBO resistance, but it flipped to support. So now I call it historical TBO support. This is only an 8% drop, though. It's not that much. The real targets to look at are the bottom of the cloud, which is at 40,797. And of course, way down here, this is the tariff crash. That's if things get really bad, really fast, down to $36,611. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think that we are going to see some sort of a crash or a tumble. The NASDAQ continues to look very weak, very bearish. Notice on balance volume is already peaked. It peaked on the week of February 2nd, and now the moving average is curling down, just like it did back over here in March 2025 when we had the tariff fears. If we look at RSI, looking extremely weak, looking at the daily time frame, it continues to be in bearish consolidation inside the cloud, struggling a lot with that. If we look at NVIDIA, I really need to learn how to get back into stocks or like how to read stuff because I'm just paying more attention to crypto. It's way more interesting to me. But this is nuts, especially if you've been paying attention to these videos, because I've been saying the more compressed the TBO cloud becomes, the more explosive the reaction is going to be. And we saw the TBO cloud get as condensed as under 2%. So we saw a big move up to 198, and then all of a sudden from 198 over the last 2 days, NVIDIA has dropped 10%. It's dumping. On the weekly time frame, something worse happened. On the weekly time frame, weekly RSI, which did have a support level, which was kind of pierced back over here in the beginning of February, is now basically confirmed it as broken. This means that NVIDIA is most likely going to be heading lower. We have a pattern here of lower highs and lower lows over and over. And now we have a new lower low at 39.68. Look at volume as well on this week's candle. That's a lot. On balance volume is now bearish, but it's been going back and forth on this moving average, but now the moving average is starting to curl downward. It's also inside of the weekly TBO cloud. If things got really rough for NVIDIA, there is weekly TBO support, 16% lower at $149, and the TBO cloud, the bottom, the slow line is at $112. That's very dramatic. That price target is extremely low. I'm not really expecting that much of a drop, but just saying. Tesla lost support. It had 1 and 2 days above this level, but doesn't have day 3, so it's still valid. It's also below the daily TBO cloud, so it's back to being strong bearish again. Okay, the weekly time frame is starting to get weaker and weaker. On balance volume is admittedly getting pretty weak. The moving average is very much heading downward. RSI is also putting in lower lows. It's still very overpriced right now, especially if we're going to see a drop. The next level to watch in terms of this support level that we have right here on the weekly time frame from the low on the 22nd of April 2024 to the low of April 7th, 2025 gives us a low or a potential target of $320 right now immediately, which next week it'll be like $322 or so, which isn't that bad. If things were going to get real rough, I mean, there's weekly TBO support all the way down here at $138. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but just food for thought. The VIX, this one has shot back up above this support level. This is really interesting right now because there is obvious volatility and uncertainty because of what's happening in between the US and Iran. This is setting up for a firestorm. Like, this is gonna be very, very interesting. I'm smiling just because I enjoy watching the markets experience lots of volatility. Not that I live vicariously through other people's pain or in some weird sadistic manner like that, but it's interesting to see these events play out because so much of the time markets are generally calm. But these moments where things get out of control, it's really interesting to see how the markets react to what's happening around the world, either geopolitically or financially. Now, oil, remember this? We had our TBO breakouts, and even though we had two TBT bearish divergences, this is nuts. Because of the heightened fears and tensions around Iran, we saw oil pump 3.42%. My target, if things get crazy, is right around here. TBO resistance is at 80.34 on the daily time frame. So I don't think it's necessarily going to go exactly to that number, maybe around 79.50 or so, but it's pretty interesting to note. And lo and behold, because there's uncertainty in the world again, gasp, whoever would have thought? I thought everything's going to be totally fine. Gold is up 1.8%, heading up to the 786 fib level at 53.20, and more importantly, up to TBO resistance at 54.51, which means silver is pushing up 6% on the day, now heading up to its 618 fib level at 95.22. Oh my goodness, that's so surprising. Platinum is also putting in higher highs as well. Wow, that's so fun. Wow, how weird. I'll stop. I'll stop being facetious. Go to the Better Traders, okay? Check the pinned comment down below. This is stuff that I've been telling people in the Better Traders Club for months. I've been predicting that the S&P, that the US TradFi markets would be going into a bear market this year, honestly, since like November of last year, mainly because of cyclical. I speak English good. Cyclical behavior. Too late to stop the video and start over, isn't it? We're already 23 minutes in. Fun how time flies. Go to the Better Traders. I already have teaching and education on how to trade crypto in a bull and a bear market without leverage and still make money. That would be the 15 Minutes to Financial Freedom course. No, it's not 15 minutes long, but it will teach you how to reduce the time you spend trading to just 15 minutes a day. Also, check out the TBO indicator. I'm using this for all of my analysis because this is the best indicator that I've ever used, and I've been using since 2019. It shows me the strength of the trend. It shows me breakouts and breakdowns. It shows me reversals with closed shorts or closed longs. It shows me support and resistance, all that good stuff. Also, our journal has been revamped and revised. It's now print on demand at Amazon.com. If you get a copy of it and you enjoy it, it's actually helping you, please consider leaving a review. You don't have to leave a shining 5-star review. I'm okay with anything as long as you guys just don't dump like a bunch of 1 stars. That would kind of kind of sting. But you got to do what you got to do. And if you're still looking for a crypto exchange to use, check out Tubit. They are a non-KYC requiring exchange that allows you to deposit and withdraw up to 50,000 USDT per day. They're almost available in almost every jurisdiction, but of course, as they grow in popularity, some jurisdictions won't be available. Sorry. And they are supported by Alttrady, which is a fantastic third-party trading platform that I use to execute all of my trades. But if you're going to use Tubit with Alttrady, you have to fill out a KYC form, a Know Your Customer form, to get access to an API key. Okay, so let's go back over to TradingView. I'm going to get into my picks. And as always, if you have coins that you're really interested in, make sure to leave a comment down below. And if you do that, please consider liking, subscribing, and then retweeting, reposting, resharing, all that fun stuff. Okay, let's get into it. So first off is Pippin. Now, Pippin, as we know, had 2 TBO breakouts this week. Really exciting, okay? Now, I've already been burned by this chart multiple times. And of course, the day where I decide, you know what, I'm just not going to short it, just forget it, it dumps like 30%. But as I noted in yesterday's video, we've seen daily RSI with a high on the 14th of February, 89.6, then a much lower high on the 24th of February, 80.42, then a much lower low on Thursday, the 26th, at 72.71, seeing these sequentially lower highs is an indication of weakness in the works. Yes, on-balance volume is still bullish. Yes, the TBO is still bullish. Yes, Pippin could actually snap back up to TBO resistance at 0.8212. Now, on the 4-hour time frame, just so you know, it does have a TBO close long. Not the end of the world, but there are signs that it is starting to lose some momentum, but it's still admittedly quite bullish. Now, stable, after printing a TBO breakout yesterday afternoon, it shot up another, 14%. And then it immediately gave it all back this morning, which is painful. Oh man, crypto knows how to do the pain. It's still really strong bullish. But with that said, now we're looking at RSI, right? So we have a high on Thursday, January 29th at 94.75, then a lower high on the 2nd of February at 79.91. Our high yesterday, 80.34. This is a moment where RSI has exceeded the previous high. That's a positive sign that stable could actually bounce back and push up higher, believe it or not. Volume, there's also a really good show of volume yesterday, even though it's a lot of selling. And even though this is Huobi and it's not the exchange with the most trading volume, but still it's notable, okay? Now, these three orange flags are showing off TBO close shorts. These are bullish reversal signs from the trending breakout indicator, the TBO. We recently had a TBO close short on Wednesday's move, and the price is now finally tagged or touched the fast line yesterday at 0.098. So does that mean that H bar is going to push up higher? Probably not. It's probably going to do the same thing it's done the last 4 times, where it pumps on the close short, touches the fast line, and it dumps. It happened back over here in October 2025, November 2025, January 2026, February 14th, and it's most likely going to happen again today. Uniswap, which had a crazy pump on Wednesday, up like 30%, has now finally retraced back to the fast line. So that TBO close short is now closed because the price is tagged, giving us our entry opportunity. If we want to take a long, that's where I would technically enter. I'm not doing that right now, just for those that are curious. DOT, this one hasn't fallen down yet. I'm actually surprised to see DOT holding up well. Now, the main thing that you should be concerned about in terms of this chart is that DOT USDT on Binance has a lot of trading volume. The 30-day moving average is at 13.4 million. On Wednesday's pump, volume was at 66.6 million. Then Thursday, 46.9 million. Yesterday, Friday, 29.2 million. Not the end of the world, but when the price is stalling and volume is falling, we should be expecting a bearish reaction. Now, we have several charts here that are labeled with pink flags, and these are just showing some bearish reactions here. Oh, I love how TradingView has fixed this, by the way. That's so good. They finally fixed this issue with the percentage sign like that. That's great. Good job, guys. Sometimes their fixes help. Sometimes they're just like, why are you doing that, guys? Like this. I hate this stupid, I want these buttons to go away. I've never, ever touched these or used them, ever. Anyway. XRP on Wednesday pushed and pumped all the way up here to $1.49. Notice it didn't close inside of the cloud. Entering at the fast line at about $1.45 and shorting it back down to TBO support gives us about a 7% return. Amazing. Same thing happened with lots of other charts, by the way. Bitcoin Cash lost 3.5% yesterday. Zcash lost support yesterday, down 8%. Sky, this one lost about 2%. And this is one that I have a short position open as well. And the reason I took it is that even though Thursday's high for RSI was at 64.84, exceeding this overhead resistance level, you'll note that it's lower than the previous high on February 14th at 65.95. So because it's a lower high, I'm looking at this as a pivot point and most likely expecting Sky to fall down at least to 0.062, maybe 0.063, which would be a good short-term target. But the other thing to note is that even though on-balance volume is bullish, volume in general is not at all. It's still falling and it's still looking weak. Bonk, this is also one that I took a short position on and I'm still holding it. It moved up. It pierced inside of the daily TBO fast line. But from Thursday to Friday, it fell down 8.5% down to TBO support. Boom. Morpho. Really interesting. It's a chart we've been watching for a while, just pushing up higher and higher. Seeing all these higher lows in terms of RSI. On Thursday, it made a high of 80.77, which is impressive. That's a really amazing amount, or rather level for it to establish. And volume has been admittedly good. On balance volume, very bullish, and it's also strong bullish above the TBO. So why is it pink? Well, it has a second TBT bearish divergence in progress or process. The first one, the previous one, was confirmed just this morning. So seeing two of these in a close proximity is the start of a bearish divergence cluster. We need to see a third one to get that confirmation, but there's a pretty decent chance of that happening, which means we might see Morpho drop back down to the fast line, which is currently at 155 from the current price of 180. That would be a nice juicy short, down 13%. Altcoin, interesting. I literally talked about this. Like, you guys can watch the videos from earlier this week. I literally talked about Altcoin, and it was pushing above resistance on Wednesday. It's like, wow, that's amazing. You know what I'll do is once it gets up here to the fast line, which yesterday was at 0.18516, that would be a great opportunity for a short, just like the last time this happened on the 14th and 15th of February. Guess what it did yesterday? It didn't touch it, but it still dumped 17%. All right. Hype. This one has, well, it continues to struggle with this overhead resistance level. We had one day closed above it on Thursday. Yesterday, Friday, it closed back down. Today, it's in process of printing a TBO open short. No duh. It hasn't closed inside of the daily TBO cloud since falling below it on Monday this week. It's already been strong bearish. What are the other indicators telling us? Volume continues to look bearish. On balance volume is kind of bullish, but the TBO is bearish. RSI is also looking weak as well. So I still expect hype to drop down to daily TBO support at 2048. Aster, this one continues to see lower volume. It's really interesting. On balance volume is just chugging sideways, but the moving average is moving up to catch up with it. RSI is admittedly falling and chop solidating as well. And the price is mysteriously being suspended in midair as if it were the centerpiece of a magic trick. It literally makes no sense why it's not dumping. So it's clearly being propped up by some entity or some market maker. I wonder who would be propping up the price of Aster. Well, Jane Street's out of the picture. I mean, no one else could possibly be manipulating the crypto markets. I mean, I have some Aster, so I'm happy for it to pop. But just so you guys know, as I've said so many times before, let me just remove all this stuff so you can see how crazy this is. Anytime the price stalls and volume is falling, it should have a bearish outcome. The fact that it's not tells us that it is being purposefully manipulated and propped up, just so you know. Now, this is a wild chart. Optimism, OP, had that big drop because of Big Brother Vitalik Buterin ragging on layer 2s, and Optimism dumped about 38%. What I find really interesting about the chart, though, is that the price isn't continuing to dump yet. It's admittedly very strong bearish, but it's also really overextended from the fast line. RSI is also somewhat waking up. I mean, it put in a really low on Tuesday this week at 11.05. On balance volume is really bearish. Volume is really bearish, but I can't shake the feeling that optimism is just going to go and pop all the way up 28% to tag the fast line or something like that. Because it hasn't tagged the fast line since losing it back over here on the 22nd of January. I just got one of those weird feelings, that's all. And I could be super duper wrong. River is now probably going to be pushing up to tag the TBO fast line at 1279, which would be an opportunity to enter a short position, just like back over here on the 12th and 13th of February. Now, on to your picks. Caspa, this one, like many other charts, it pumped on Wednesday, went a little bit higher on Thursday, but it failed to close inside of the cloud. It tagged the fast line and it's falling lower. Oh no, just like Cardano, just like Arbitrum. Actually, it wicked into the cloud, into the fast line yesterday. Look at that. And it just went right back down. Fetch, same thing, moved right up here to the fast line and it fell all the way down to TBO support for 9%. Ondo, same story. Syrup didn't tag the fast line, but it's being rejected. Tau, this one moved inside of the cloud and it lost it yesterday, down 4.5%. Now, one thing that's interesting about Tau is that it is kind of sort of looking kind of bullish on RSI. It's very aimai, which is Japanese for like iffy, like gray, like uncertain. Okay. So I don't necessarily, I don't have good fuzzy warm feelings about Tau. Now, I think in the future, after Bitcoin capitulates, there are some really good coins to consider building your portfolio with, namely AI focused or AI centric coins. I think that's going to be the next narrative to really take off. Kronos, tagged the fast line on Wednesday and it's fallen back down. No change. Aptos, same thing. Wi-Fi, Yearn Finance tagged the fast line on Wednesday and it's fallen down to support. That's a great setup right there for 8%. That's absolutely nuts. AR continues to be strong bearish. It had a pretty big dump on Wednesday. Instead of everything that pumped, it fell down 3%, but volume. This is AR USDT on Binance. Look at that. Volume on Wednesday was 22.7 million, whereas the 30-day moving average was 4.8. So it's roughly 4 times the volume, and it's on a dump. That's not really a good sign of positivity and good vibes. Lighter, this one continues to go lower. I don't really see any reversal signs yet for this chart. Dent, I haven't heard of this chart in such a long time. Wow, look at that. I love this. This is why I stay in crypto, because of just weird stuff like this. It pumping up 263% over 3 days out of nowhere. Why? What's the reason for it? Makes no sense. Maybe there's news, but look at the look at the chart. I bet you this tagged the weekly fast line, by the way. Let's see. Oh, that's your exit point, guys. That's it. So if you're ever like, oh man, I'm up 100%, this is amazing, just flip to the weekly to see, is it getting close to the fast line? And if you are and you haven't taken profit yet, this is a great opportunity to just shave off a little bit of profit. Or if you're chasing and you're really close to the fast line on the weekly, that's a good time to pump the brakes and be like, wait a second, I think I might be giving into FOMO. Because eventually these charts are going to go and fart all the way down. NEAT continues to stay strong bullish. I mean, it is above the cloud, even though it closed down 11%. It's still looking decent. On balance volume is still strong bullish. The only sign of weakness right now is on Monday this week, RSI was at 87.76, and then Wednesday down to 70.68. Thursday, 82.17. Yesterday, 68.77. So we're seeing lower highs and lower lows, which is bearish structure building. Now, let's say we don't want to buy that. Okay, cool. Well, let's just take this level of support right here. It's literally on that line of support. From the low on the 5th of February to the low yesterday. And it's a very loose level to call this support, especially because I just drew it by hand. But NEAT is also in trouble if it doesn't bounce from here, and it's also putting in lower highs, which means that it's most likely going to be weak. Is looking pretty good. We have a TBO breakout yesterday on a 12% pump. That's pretty insane. RSI is putting in a higher local high, but it has to exceed 77.32. That's a tall order. Pretty amazing. My only caveat here with the chart is the last time it printed a TBO breakout on the daily was way late after it already had pushed up 150%. Now we're looking at it, putting a TBO breakout 120% higher. So I'm looking at this a little bit skeptically. You could understand why, but is it super strong bullish? Oh man, insane. Congrats to any holders for this. I mean, you're killing it. You're doing way better than I am if you're holding this chart. You might want to watch out though, because it's approaching historical price-based resistance from a high over here on the 1st of May at 5.387. Now for some stocks, again, The TBO works really well on 24/7 charts, but with stocks, it's going to have a lot of gaps and a lot of weird stuff. If you're using on stocks, well, I don't like using Heikin Ashi candles. It will make it smoother in terms of using it with the TBO, but it's going to affect the placement of symbols, breakouts, all that stuff. We're going to see them disappear, and it's not going to actually be valid price action. I've already made a video about why I don't trust or like Heikin Ashi candles personally, but some people really like using it for momentum, understandably so. But you're going to be getting false price information. Okay, so Sprott Physical Copper Trust. Okay, um, man, massive amount of selling back over here in early January. That's crazy. TBT bearish divergence cluster, TBO closed longs. It's back above the cloud on the daily time frame. On the weekly, um, okay, I'll say it this way. If this chart can push above TBO resistance at 1241 and hold above it, it has a really good chance of surviving. One other positive sign in terms of price, and we'll just turn off the TBO, all right, is that it is above short-term overhead resistance. It's already pushed above that multiple times, right? So it's broken out above overhead resistance that was at 1181, and now it's up about 3%. That's a good move. What I'd want to do if I were trading this is I would want to buy on the bounce. So it's basically, I'm sorry, not the bounce, but bump and run. So it had resistance, it pushed above resistance. I want to see, and we have 3 days above, so it's considered closed. I'd want to buy on the retrace back to previously broken resistance, which would confirm it as support, and then it should take off. Okay, that's how I would trade something like this, which means that I would want to be buying back here around 1160 or so. Zoom must have had really bad earnings reports. No surprise, because Zoom was incredible all the way back over here during COVID, which is insane, but it makes complete sense, right? There was a need for it. So over here in 2020, Zoom absolutely zoomed up to $600. And now where is it? 73. On the weekly time frame, it's down 18% this week with the TBO closed long on the weekly. That's pretty rough. There is support on the weekly at 63.55. Zoom is most likely done as a company. I don't know what else they can possibly do to compete with all the free options out there, but maybe they have something up their sleeve. Amazon, I'm surprised that they also have seen a really big gap of like 9% starting back on Wednesday the 4th to Friday the 6th. That's significant. So one unfair advantage that stocks have are gap fill strategies, meaning that there's a clear gap. Let me go ahead and just use my rectangle, right, like this. So there's a gap right here. Oh, gappa. And there's a gap right here as well. So it's a little bit unfair, but it's just how stocks work, right? Because they don't do 24/7 markets most of the time, unless it's like on a futures exchange or the CME. So what most people do for these gaps is they look for a fill, look for bullish news and fill it up to 5% or up here 10%. So just because it has these gaps doesn't mean it's bearish necessarily, that it's done. Because think, this is Amazon. Amazon's not going to go anywhere. Maybe their earnings might be a little bit low, but Amazon is like basically on everyone's wish list, right? When people, okay, I'll say it this way. I know for a fact that students in my school, they don't know what to ask people for their birthday anymore, because people don't go shopping and go to the mall. So they just ask for an Amazon gift card because they can just get whatever they want, right? Amazon's not going anywhere. It's just short-term oversold. Also on the weekly time frame, it has an open TBO closed long from the 2nd of February, and that means the fast line at 223 and 54 cents, which is up approximately 6.46%, is a good short-term target. Circle, this one has popped this week up to the fast line, up 32.4%. Wow. Unfortunately, there's also created a gap. So we have a Tuesday to Wednesday gap. That's not even a weekend gap, meaning that these gaps are vacuous and nature hates a vacuum. So there's a good chance that it fills this gap, falling another 24% before going higher. Not necessarily has to, but that's typically how these charts operate. INTU, Intuit, intuition, I don't know. It's okay. It actually looks like it's in the middle of a recovery. look at how this is where the TBO does shine with stocks, because TBO resistance works so well. Support down here at 371, where it exactly fell to this week, and now it's bouncing up 10%. Notice on this run from support, October 2022 at support 370, up to historical TBO resistance 84%. It eventually hit it 742 days later. Now, this is a stock market, so it takes a long time for this to happen. It also plots these levels of resistance, like exhaustion breakouts, 4 TBO closed longs before it actually dumped. Massive, massive move. FTK, pretty clear rejection after a reversal beginning in February, falling from 42 something or other down to $30, so lost 28%. It's printing a TBO close long inside of the weekly. Really short-term oversold. That's a pretty nasty rejection. It's actually the first time it's been below the cloud on the daily time frame since, is it actually here? No. Since back over here, April 2024. So it's been very strong bullish. So how do we handle this? Well, there might have been some really bad news, but the reality is that anything that's really, really short-term oversold most likely will spring back. The first target is the TBO fast line, which is at 34.05. Great. Well, I hope that you guys have an enjoyable weekend. I need you to be on the lookout for tomorrow's video. It's a banger. You guys are going to love this resource, especially all of you that are in the Better Traders Club. You've already gotten access to the site and to the video ahead of everybody else. So again, another reason to join the Better Traders Club. But I want you to watch this video right here. It's going to help prepare you for what I think is going to be happening for Bitcoin next. Until the next time, you know what to do. Stay awesome and stay in the green. Peace.